happy Sunday. As you can see, I'm out at the property today. I'm gonna lead worship from here. Bear with me, I am a little sick. I don't feel my best, but I still wanted to try for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys have a wonderful Sunday, and I hope to see you soon. 1,000 generations falling down in worship to sing the song forever to the Lamb. And all who've gone before us and all who will believe will sing the song forever to the Lamb. Your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, your name stands above them above all thrones and dominions, all powers and positions. Your name stands above them all, and the angels cry, holy. All creation cries, holy. You are lifted high, holy, holy forever. You've been forgiven, and if you've been redeemed, sing the song forever to the Lamb. If you walk in freedom, and if you bear His name, sing the song forever to the Lamb. We'll sing the song forever and amen, for the angels cry, holy. All creation cries, holy. You are lifted high, holy, holy forever. Hear your people sing, holy, to the King of Kings. Holy, you will always be. Holy, holy forever. Oh, 'cause your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, your name stands above them all, above all thrones and dominions, all powers and positions. Your name stands above them all. Oh Jesus, your name is the highest, your name is the greatest, your name, oh, it stands above them all, above all thrones and dominions, all powers and positions. Your name, oh, it stands above them all, and the angels cry, holy. All creation cries, holy. You are lifted high, holy, holy forever. Hear your people sing, holy, to the King of Kings. Holy, you will always be. Holy, holy forever. next Sunday.
Thank you, Skylar. I don't know why I'm not. There it is. Today's been one of them challenging for technology mornings. If you could have seen me back here scrambling while she was singing, you'd have probably laughed at me. But thank you, Skylar, for leading us in worship. I hope you all appreciate what it takes. So Skylar went down to the property. You all know the traffic situation and such, but she went down to the property so that you all could see that property while here online and be able to appreciate where things are going to be happening. So real quick, couple announcements. We made huge progress in our permitting process this week. We went through, I don't know how many steps there are at the town. I want to say it's 10. And we're at like 7. So we're past the 3/4 mark with the town and the permitting process. So that was very encouraging to get that phone call this week that, we met this thing. So thanks to Papa, who made some calls down there and just got us moved up the line a little bit. There were some issues with some stuff in the computer, and he got all that fixed. So thank him for that. And yeah, he got us moving. And then also, you all put it on your calendars. We're going to meet on the campus next Sunday morning, 10:30, same time. So just be there got to bring the lawn chairs. We're going to work on some tents, just kind of make some shade. Yes, we're still working on getting inside places. And we made great talks with the Lutheran Church again this week that it's just a long process. I don't know why. You all can hear the frustration in my voice, but it just is a long process. And you know what? Not everybody's like Beach Baptist. Let's just say it that way. If somebody knocked on my door and said, "Can we use your building?" we just give them the key. But that's me, and I'm not saying anybody's wrong for doing it a different way. It's just not what I'm used to. So we're going through that process with them and getting all the paperwork that they need and answering all the questions that they want answered. And then we're hoping to be able to use their building for an hour on Sunday mornings. So that's where we're going. Hopefully that all kind of moves. Maybe I'll get you a great update next week on that. So that's what I'm after. Apologize if I look like I'm squinting. I didn't wear my glasses this morning, so y'all just hold still. All right, that's all the announcements I got. Be sure to support. Last announcement. Be sure to support. You all voted on the budget. It's enacted. We got to survive with that budget. Okay, so it is a very streamlined budget. It just keeps everything open. That's all it does. So if you can give to that and help us, that would be great. Just go to our website. You can find all the ways to give, or send me an email or text, and we'll get you in touch. So, I hate even talking about that, but today's world, that's what we got to do. So I want to talk to you. I want to talk to some people, and maybe all of us. I don't know, because I know I have at some points in my life felt stuck in what I was doing. Maybe stuck in faith, sort of. I want to believe in God for more. I always look out. I want more. I want to be doing more for God. I want to be doing whatever. And I just sort of felt stuck. Before the hurricane, for sure, I was in a rut. Everybody, many people may not know that, but I was. And I just wanted more. I wanted more spiritual growth. I wanted more passion. I wanted to have more spiritual impact. I wanted to do all those things. And then things kind of blew up, and then you're like, that's not sure. Be careful what you pray for. Maybe that's a good point for today. Be careful what you pray for when you feel stuck. So I felt stuck, and everything blew up. And then, it was sort of like, this isn't comfortable anymore. If you can see where I'm at, isn't comfortable. It's not. I'm standing in a pole barn. Leaves are on my feet. I'm looking out at the road, and property, and and me. The girls are in the driveway. They're all right here in front of me, and all that kind of stuff. But you know what? So when I was wanting more, and then this is what I got. I'm like, maybe I should have been more pointed in my prayers, but no. And then God said, no, this is this right here, this now. So now do I feel, am I supposed to feel like I want more, which would be weird. So it got me settled to say, no, this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. And so we're just going to do, the right now. But maybe you're feeling, just stuck somewhere, it's just more of the same every single day for you. I don't know. You feel like you're behind. You feel like you're living below what you could be doing. You're feeling like you're not doing as much as what God created you to be. You're not as big as what, you're not doing as much as what God created you to be able to do, right? So maybe stagnant, maybe whatever. You try to pray and your prayers just don't feel effective. Maybe you read your Bible, but it just doesn't speak to you. You read a passage and you're like, yeah, that again. I've been reading the Bible a long time, and there it is. I'm gonna tell you today, I've read the story that we're gonna look at today. Unexaggerable. Is that a weird word? I know I've read it 100 times. And just got one today. Just got something out of it today. Just another little piece out of it, and I'm just like, how did I miss that? Where did that come from, right? Maybe when you worship, maybe it just feels distant. Maybe you're online, right? And this is your church, and then at some point you're like, it's not enough. And it may not be. Maybe you're called to go somewhere else, do something more. Or maybe you're called to, dig in and then act. It could be. So, but just keep plowing. So if you want a little foreshadow of where we're going, just keep plowing. That's going to be my keyword for you today. Keep plowing. So if you feel spiritually stagnant, you're praying. So this message, maybe do a couple on him. We're going to talk about the guy Elisha, right? This guy, he's an Old Testament prophet. I don't speak a lot of the Old Testament, and not because I don't love it. It's just sometimes it's hard to relate. And then this one related to me, especially now. He's in his early 20s. He's stuck behind a plow on his family's farm. I mean, that's Elisha's life. He gets up every morning. He grabs a hold of the plow and this is his plow. Plow. I'm gonna add syllables to that word. I can tell. So he just gets up and he grabs a plow every morning, and he walks. It's just like the same day. I mean, it's the same thing every day. Works the same fields in the same dirt, same job day after day. And little did he know, but God had plans for him. It just up until when this happens, what's getting ready to happen in Elisha's life, it was just the mundane. It was just the walk behind, just stuck behind the plow. And so you might feel that way, but so let me just tell you this: God has a mantle with your name on it. There's another foreshadow that's coming in a few minutes. He has a mantle with your name on it, a calling that's bigger than the field that you're standing in. If you're ready to believe in more, even if it's same place, but more in your life, realization of that there's more that God has for you, even in what you're doing. Settle in and let's look at it. So God chooses ordinary people to be extraordinary. True. We believe that. We know that. I am as ordinary as it comes. I promise. Right. And I hang with the ordinary. There's a few people I know and have met that are extraordinary. Right. But the majority of people that I know are ordinary people, just regular old folks. We call them regular old folks. Right. But that's who God chooses. That's who God works in and around. And this guy, Elisha, he was an ordinary fella. He was an ordinary all the way through. But you know that? Here's a fun fact. Except for Jesus, Elisha performed more miracles recorded in the Bible than anybody else. It was Jesus than him. That's pretty good for an ordinary guy, right? But I want to show you that this same God that called Elisha is also working in your life. He's showing you each day what you're supposed to be doing and to find joy in it, which is, and I'm not telling you to just suck it up and make life happy. I'm telling you to dig into life where you're at, expect more, right? And it could just be spiritual more. It could be doing more. It could be helping more, giving more, whatever that is. Just expect more while you're doing what God has called you to do. So when you look at the Bible, I want you to dig in to the story, right? This story is in 1 Kings chapter 19, and you're supposed to ask These books, first thing when you study a book of the Bible, you should ask who wrote it, when was it written, who was it to, and what's going on, right? So when you start answering those questions for First Kings, it's a little difficult because in First Kings, when you ask who wrote it, we don't really know, right? A lot of scholars say that it could be Jeremiah. A lot of people say that it could have been just a team of scholars that got together and they wrote what happened, right? Because it's very historical, but there's a lot of typecast in here. But we do know it was a critical period in Israel's history, right? These people were ignoring God. They were living immorally. They were worshiping false gods. Sound kind of familiar, I hope. It's so funny when you read about what was going on in the lives of people, especially in the Old Testament around this time. It looks just like today. And so we just talked about the end times last week. So time all together. It kind of looks the same. But they were, here's what I say, in critical times, God raises up spiritual leaders. So in critical times, I want you to look at it in moments. In a critical time, in a moment that's going on where you live, God raises up a spiritual leader. So there could be a critical thing that needs to happen, and he raises you up to do that spiritual thing. Right? So we're not talking about, are you the spiritual leader of the planet or of the country or of your state or your county? That's what we're talking about. We're talking about in critical times, God empowers his people to take care of things. I know that. I emphatically believe that if it just goes down to one need, even if there's a need, then God raises someone up to meet the need. That's what I want you to get. So in critical times, God raises up a spiritual leader to take care of it. And so first, Elijah was in power. He was the prophet for the people of Israel, right? He was powerful, man. They call him a powerful prophet. He brought fire from heaven down. It was really cool because he stood against these bold and these wicked kings, and he led the example of what God was doing in the lives of people and how powerful God was based on what he showed the people that God wanted them to do. So it was very cool that Elijah was but at the end of Elijah's life, God called Elisha to continue the work. And so God tells Elijah to go and place this mantle on Elisha. And so I want you to believe that in this time in life that God's called you right where you're at to do a very extraordinary thing, right? So let me look at chapter 19, verse 19. It's pretty easy. So Elijah went and found Elisha, son of Shaphat. That's a fun name. Glad I didn't have it growing up. Plowing a field. There were 12 teams of oxen in the field, and Elisha was plowing with the 12th team. Elijah went over to Elisha and threw his cloak across his shoulders and then walked away. Right there. Hold on. So we want to ask, what do we know? Do we know Elisha's background? What do we know about Elisha's background? Not a lot. We know they lived in the 9th century BC when Israel was divided. We know that Elisha didn't graduate from the school of the monks. He wasn't the son of a priest. He was the son of a rancher. His name was Shaphat. We know that he's pretty wealthy. And this is where I didn't even catch this. Well, how do we know he's pretty wealthy? Well, in that time, if you had a oxen, you could make a pretty good living. A lot of people didn't even have the oxen. And if you had an ox, you had a ox, you can make a pretty good living. A lot of people plowed the fields by hand, right? So the step up was an ox. The next step up was oxen, 2. There was a team of oxen, right? So 1 team of oxen. 2, you could do double what the guy with 1 ox had. Are you following? What are you stepping? Are you smelling what we're stepping in yet? Elisha's family had 12 teams of oxen. His dad, Shaphat, had 24 oxen put into 12 teams, which means he had 12 workers. Elisha was one of them. We don't know if he had other brothers in that list. We don't know anything about that. We know that Elisha was the 12th team in the field. So there were, and they would stack. And you're seeing multiple tractors. Now in our day, you got to have multiple tractors, if you're going to be successful. So it would be a tractor and then a tractor and then a tractor. So with oxen, it's 2 oxen, 2 oxen, 2 oxen. And so you were hoeing 12 rows at a time, or you were plowing 12 sections at a time. I used the phrase yesterday with Michaela. It's a hard row to hoe. Put in the comments if you know what a hard row to hoe is. She was like, what are you talking about? I didn't even let her in on it. So you all, because I was already reading this. It's kind of funny. So you put it in there if you know what a long, hard row to hoe is. So we know that he was living large in the big house on the hill, right? He was balling in the 9th century. I made that part up. So he's not your typical rich kid. You know, if you think about a rich kid in that area, he'd be sitting up on the porch, right? Maybe playing a video game while there were 12 workers, right? But no, this is family, and he was 12th in line. He was the last. I want you to just think about the amount of oxen butt that he stared at. He was 12th. There were 11 other teams. There were 22 other, aside from his 2. So he was looking at 24 ox butts every day. That's a lot of ox butt. I'm just telling you. And that's what he just got up and did every day. He just stood there. And can you imagine how easy it would be to lose your passion staring at ox butts for that long? That many at a time? He's the last. Here comes Elijah into this field where Elisha is plowing, and Elijah walks past. I saw this time too. Elijah walked past 11 other guys to go to the back of the line to put his cloak on Elisha. It reminds me of the other verse. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. He went to the last. It says he has 12 teams, and he's the 12th team. Elijah walks to the very back, and God often chooses the back of the line. So if you're feeling overlooked, undervalued, stuck at the back of the line, don't look at position. It doesn't really help, because God sees you, and God loves you, and God can use you. It doesn't matter what status you have in God's accounting. That's what we'll use. So when bask in that for a minute, or just sit with that God chose you. Hopefully he chose you to be where you're at right now. It's a horrible feeling to be doing something that God didn't choose you to do. I can tell you that. But it's a great feeling to be doing what God chose you to do. It's not always fun and rewarding, but it's a great feeling. It's to know that God chose you to do a particular thing and you're doing it. I can also tell you that. And that's really cool. So God sees a prophet. God didn't see a guy plowing a field. He saw a prophet. So he doesn't see necessarily your circumstance. He sees what he wants you to be. So if he sees somebody who needs to help another, right? So he sees somebody who's got what he's given you to give away. Say that. He might look at you, and he might see somebody stuck in school, right? He might look at me, and I think I'm just stuck in school, right? Nope. God sees a nurse who's going to do things, not just for patients and stuff. You know what? It really hit me hard that I'm not studying to be a nurse. I'm studying to be a missionary in the nursing field, and I can't wait. I'm already doing a lot of it, but I can't wait till that comes to fulfillment. But I got to stay grounded. I got to stay where I'm at, even today, because it's easy to go, that's going to be fun. No, this can be fun, right? Right. I believe the only way Elisha got up every day is that he knew he was supposed to be behind that plow. He was supposed to get up and stand behind those ox butts every day. He knew it, right? And he did it. I think I just got to believe he did it with a joyful heart, because that's how God's able to work and move in us, is because we have a heart that's open and ready to see what God has for us. And you're going to see in a minute that it had to be that way, or I think the answer Elisha gave Elijah would have been very different, or it would have been a lot harder to come through. So God's not looking for your ability. He's looking for your availability. As it ends, verse 19, Elijah went up to Elisha and threw his cloak around him. And that, you got to remember, the word cloak, I'm not going to tell you what the Hebrew word is because it doesn't even matter. But here is what it defines as. It doesn't define as necessarily cloak, it actually defines as mantle. That's where we got the mantle from. It's a large, heavy garment made of animal hair representing spiritual authority and anointing. It wasn't just a fur coat, right? It was identifiable as this mantle. You wore it, people listened to you. You wore it, then what you said, they knew came from God, period. That's all that. So it's not just this cloak and coat. It's a prophetic symbol. And it comes all the way through prophets and the kings and the judges. Elijah says to Elisha, you're next. You're called. You're chosen. Here you go. Now, Elijah chooses Elisha to represent God, but now it's Elisha's decision. Don't miss that. You always have a decision to make when God says this is, and he tells you, please don't say you don't know what God wants you to do. Please don't say that. If you're a Christ follower, you'll never convince me that you don't know what God's called you to do. You might not know how. You might be scared, but don't say you don't know, because we know. Okay? So here we have, now Elisha has to make that decision to follow him. He can decline. He can keep plowing. He can just keep on going. Ox butts for his future. Doesn't care. He knows, listen, he knows he can keep plowing for some more years, and then the whole thing becomes his. He gets to inherit this entire organization. He gets to be the one in charge, if he wants, of the other 11 teams at some point in the future, because that's just how family inheritance was going to work. I don't care how far down the line he was. He was getting a piece of it. And he was going to be able to just say, no, I'll keep plowing for a while, because at least this way I know what I'm going to get. I know what my future looks like. It's sort of already planned out, Elijah. He could have said that. Could have stayed safe, comfortable, predictable. Or he could have taken a risk, which is exactly what he does. Risk it all. His security, his inheritance. He wasn't going back to follow God's call. But look, you take a risk every single day, somewhere. Some people take risks in the wrong places. Some people take risks with their integrity. Maybe they cut corners at work, right? Maybe you do something, on the sly that's a little, but it's a risk. It's a risk that if somebody found out that you did it, it would tarnish, right? Your integrity, your thing. I know a lot of people, they risk marriages with a secret addiction or a secret affair. So they'll take a risk with something very precious like marriage, right? And they'll take that risk. They've calculated that risk is okay. But when it comes to faith, we play it safe. We've got it backwards. We risk what we should protect, and we protect what we should risk. Like we take our faith and we just protect it. We're like, no, I'm gonna keep this kind of close, and I'm gonna be okay. When we should be risking everything for our faith. And then we'll take the stuff that we should be watching over, our integrity, our marriages, our attitudes, our reputation, whatever it is, and we'll just risk that without even thinking about it. Just, I don't really care. Be all right. No. Elisha has a decision. Play it safe, risk it all. Verse 20, quick answer. That's very important. Elisha left the oxen standing there, ran after Elijah and said to him, first, let me go and kiss my father and mother goodbye, and then I'll go with you. That's verse 20. Notice Elisha didn't stall. He didn't make excuses. He didn't say, hey, I need to finish plowing this up to the end at least, right? I need to finish the row, this hard row. I need to finish it, right? He stopped. He had a decision, so he stopped what he was doing. He counted the cost. He did. The Bible says count the cost. It's a very short count. He didn't let Elijah get too far down that field. And he took off after him. And he says, hold on. I need to honor my family. And I'll be right back. When God calls, here's a good point. Don't delay. Obey. You don't negotiate the terms. You surrender. I'll tell you this. A big mark in spiritual maturity is the time span between God's command and our obedience. And that is something I am going to learn and continue to learn daily. Your spiritual maturity is evidenced by the time it takes you to obey what God's command is for your life. Now just sit on that for a while. How much do I know God, or how much do I love God? That's what spiritual maturity is. It's not knowing. That's why I said, don't tell me that you don't know what he's saying. You know what he's saying. But the time span it takes for you to obey what he said is your spiritual maturity marker. Ouch. I know. Just it'll be good. Let me here. This is me patting you virtually on the back. I know. It'll be okay. We get there. I'm not there. I still take some time. Sometimes I take time. See, I think here's what happens. I think God shows me little things to do. Like, you remember we just gave away coats because somebody was cold. Duh, easy, right? But then you give me a big one, right? Something, and then I'll be like, I don't know about that, right? I don't know about that. Next week, this is the next week's meeting on campus. What was decided this morning, and I almost sat with it. I honored my family. I went and asked Sherry Ann about schedules. Was it? And she was like, schedule's fine. Boom. Text. We're going to be there. Tell you, we're going to be there. It's probably a horrible week to try to get on the island, find a place to stay, do church out on the grounds if we have to. We may be somewhere else inside, but right now it's on campus. It's in person though. I want to be able to bring you information and show you stuff and talk to you and just interact. That's difficult. I got a full week in between that, right? It's just I hate it. I hate the scheduling of it. But I truly felt God was like, I think it's next Sunday. And I'm like, okay. After I wanted to hold back. I wanted like, no, it's much, even though this is different for me. This one's easier. This right here is a little bit easier than that. Okay. So I was like, I'll go with you. I was telling God, I'll go with you. Because it really, to me, it was like, God, it's like, I'm going to meet down there. I'd like for you to be with me. So I was reading 1 Kings and verse 20. Next week's in. See, Sherilyn. Sherilyn just put, I'm glad. I didn't even know. I know I'm supposed to be there now. Next weekend's the Shrimp Festival. I just heard. You see, if I'd have known that information, I'd have been like, oh, it's probably not a good weekend. I already said yes. See? Verse 20, it says, I'll go with you. And see, he didn't say what else is up. What's going on down there? Is it going to work? Would it be okay? That's not what Elisha says. Elisha doesn't say, where are we going? How long is it going to take to get there? What are we going to do when we get there? Because he doesn't know. He literally says, I'll go with you. He didn't even know which way he came from. He was just plowing when the guy walked up and threw the cloak on his back. But I'll go with you. Accepts the mantle. You don't have to understand completely to obey immediately. That just hit me as much as it hopefully hit you. You don't have to understand completely to obey immediately. I'm telling you right now, my heart, my internal gut would have been avoid that beach at all costs next week. It would have been. But God said, no, we're doing it next week. You do need to consider that cost, that blink of an eye cost, that really important stuff. The only thing that matters, like Elijah, like I told you, he checked with his family. He honored his family. And then he said, I'll go with you. He looked out and knew what he was giving up. He knew. Decided to do it anyway. Verse 21. So Elisha returned to his oxen and slaughtered them. He used the wood from the plow to build a fire to roast their flesh. He passed around the meat to the townspeople, and they all ate. Then he went with Elijah as his assistant. That's verse 21. Yeah, I kind of read that, and I get it. I get it. I think I've sort of understood that before today. He literally burned all his bridges. Wasn't going back. You see, I think if he'd have left, those are his oxen. I don't know how that works in history, whether each person had their oxen, their team. But I mean, he was family, so he could do it. But no safety net, no turning back, no. If this doesn't work out, I got a plan B. Working the only plan that's put before him at a time. Literally slaughters the 2 oxen, takes the wood from the plow, builds an altar, lights it on fire, and roasts the meat and gives it all away. It doesn't even say he was gathering enough for his own good. It didn't even tell us, and I think it'd be very important that he would say, and he gathered some meat for his trip so that he wouldn't go hungry. Nope. He gave it. He passed around the meat to the townspeople, and they all ate. He probably took a bite, had some then. He wasn't even. Man, you know how many times I try to make sure everything is just right and everything is ready for me for the future, that I make sure all of it's laid out. Not just what it's going to cost me to do it. No. I want to know everything that I'm going to need. Not him. For years, Elisha's just plowing, and now he burns the plow. Somebody needs to hear this. You can't hold the plow and the mantle at the same time. They don't go. Sometimes you got one foot in the church, one foot in the world. You got one foot in faith, one foot in fear. Well, I do kind of trust, but not always. I got one foot in my calling, one foot in comfort. That's me all day. One foot in comfort, one foot in calling. Can't serve the world and follow Jesus. If you love the world, the Bible just literally says, if you love the world, you're going to hate the Father. And it's kind of a paraphrase, but that's what it means. The only way to love the Father is to hate the world. Let me ask you a serious question. What plow do you need to burn so you can fully follow Jesus? What plow do you need to burn to fully follow Jesus? Something's holding you back. And like I said, it could just be this one thing that God's asking you to do, but there's something holding you back from doing it. Whatever that is. What plow do you need to burn? Man, is it some secret you're holding? It's a secret sin, maybe? It's just something that you're constantly having to guard or watch over, or so that nobody else finds out, and maybe you need afraid to let somebody know. Maybe it's something that you value more than you value God. Maybe it's a relationship that doesn't really honor God, and maybe you need to get out of it. Maybe you're hooked on something. Maybe you're hooked on something and you need to do something different. I don't know. Maybe something's got a hold of you, and you find yourself not being able to do what God asked you to do because you're stuck on something else. I'm learning about subtle marketing techniques. If there's something you're trusting in more than God, it's time to burn that plow. Just time to burn that plow. So if you feel spiritually stuck, there's more of the same dirt, same struggle, still plowing. Remember, God chooses. The one at the back of the line. Everyone else sees something ordinary. God sees something extraordinary. God sees who he's called to do something special, because God has a mantle with your name on it and a calling bigger than the field you're standing in. And I hope I'm getting this across, that it's not about just one solitary thing in your life. See, I used to think that my mantle was being a pastor. My mantle changes with what God has for me to do at any moment. So your mantle's not your title. Your mantle is the calling for what God has for you to do today. And sometimes you need to count that cost real quick, act. Count that cost, act. Counting that cost is taking every thought captive. It's all New Testament talking and teaching, because the enemy can sneak in and say, "Oh, go do that." That would cost me my family. You see, Elisha didn't lose his family. He honored his family, and he moved on. So he counted that cost, what it was going to take to miss his family, just like every disciple who God called, Jesus called to follow him. They knew that they were leaving their family, but they didn't lose their family. Big difference. Sometimes the enemy asks you to do something that'll cost you your family. That's just gone, right? Or for a healthy relationship, it'll cost you that healthy relationship. That's not the same thing, right? So when it's pretty easy. God's never going to call you to sin, right? But the enemy's really good at asking you to do stuff that might not actually be a sin, so to speak, but could cost you something that's very valuable in God's accounting. So there's where you count the cost, and that's why. Jesus wants all of you, your whole heart, your whole life. Because you can't love the world and love Jesus at the same time. You can't hold the plow and wear the mantle at the same time. What's your plow? What is it you're trusting more than you're trusting God? Don't look back. Burn the plow. Fully follow Jesus. Let me pray for you. And then I'll see you in person next week. Boy, can't wait. Okay, a little sarcasm, but that's how it works. Listen, y'all don't know how that affected me. Being able to, I already said yes, and then Sherilyn comes up and says, "Oh, the weekend I would have avoided like the plague." And here we are. We're going to have a good, I'm excited. Listen, God's going to do something. God's doing something. I can't wait. So it's just I ain't never look forward to a week like that now. I'm looking forward to it based on what God has planned for us. Let's pray together, and then we'll get on out here and go see what your mantle looks like today. God, I thank you for the mantle that you place on my life every day, and for the things that you need me to do to grow closer to you, to honor you, to show you to this world. Thank you. I'm excited for what you got planned, but I'm going to walk day to day. Learn from you, grow from you, experience you. In your name I pray. Amen. I see y'all next week. Literally see y'all next week. Or, we'll still be online. Work with me when we go online down there. Internet's not the greatest. If somebody's got like a portable internet solution that you can share, AT&T sucks. So I need something better than that. Cliff, we are meeting on the campus. Like, bring your lawn chair. I'm going to try to get some 10x10s just to cast some more shade. Our truck makes a big shade. We did this before. It's really cool. But we'll make better shade. I'm going to get down there and we'll get that done. It's going to be awesome. Can't wait. On the campus, unless you hear different, we'll put out all the work. If we get to meet somewhere inside near us, but I doubt it. We'll just meet right there on the campus. See y'all then. Y'all have a great week.